Alrighty, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Council of the Township of Uxbridge to order. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? If there are none, review of items not listed on the agenda. Madam Clerk.
Through you, Your Worship, there is a delegation and 3 items of correspondence not listed on the agenda.
Thank you. Announcements. How about we start with you, Gary, over on the left? Announcements. None? Councillor Hyatt.
Thank you, Mayor Malloy. It's been a really busy weekend. I'm sure we've all been out on the campaign trail as well as the events that we've had. Friday, the Bonner boys had their movie night, Shrek. If you've ever seen that movie, I suggest you go and watch it. It's awesome. We've had it for years. Saturday was the Thomas the Train event, as well as Friday and yesterday. I was over there yesterday. It was really hot, but it was packed. But I've never seen so many little kids with smiling faces. Their parents weren't smiling as much, but certainly the kids were having a great time. As well, there was the Indigo Dyeing Workshop up at the museum. The Horseman Schooling Show series was on yesterday over at Elgin Park, if I had a chance to drop by there too. So tons of stuff going on. Again, Thomas is in town. Maybe Councillor Beach will speak to that, as well as Art in the Park next weekend as well. So you can't complain there's nothing to do in Uxbridge, because there's lots to do. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councillor Beach.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, very busy weekend. Long days, long nights, it seems, with Thomas the Train. We've had a great turnout. We're looking forward to a great turnout next weekend. People were just fabulous, coming to the tourism trailer, asking questions where to, find different things, people that have come before, wanting to come back to our beautiful town and municipality to walk on trails. People from Brampton, Toronto, I think as far east, I think there was one from Cornwall that I actually talked to. So it's really amazing what's going on in the town, and this month is just jam-packed with a lot of different events that are coming up, and please enjoy them. And just a reminder about August 30th, Farmers of Uxbridge. We've got some new people coming in to talk about their unique businesses in farming. And please come out. It's from 5 till 8 at the Arena Hall. Bring out and tell families. Kids need to be educated, and adults need to be educated about how we get our food. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bryan.
Thank you very much, Mayor Malloy. I just want to make one little quick comment. As we're all out knocking on doors, we're all getting comments about the culvert and the issues that are going on with the culvert, and a lot of times people are saying, why do we need the culvert? And I think we don't have to look any further than the storms that have ravaged Toronto with their crumbling infrastructure and the flooding they're getting, and I think that's a good example of exactly what we're trying to avoid with this culvert. So just when we're all aware, and certainly if we can get that message out, that is one of the reasons we're replacing it, so we won't have that incredible damage. That's the only thing I had to say.
Thank you. Regional Councillor Ballinger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and no, I didn't spend any time knocking on any doors. But I will. I will say, sitting at Toronto Region Conservation meeting at the executive meeting on Friday, it's you can see the look in people's faces. A lot of city councillors with the reduction that's happening down there to their council. I believe it's the 7th, that they got 3.5 meters that came down in the Black Creek area, and they have gauges to measure all that, and their gauges didn't show anything like that. They didn't know what was going to happen. That happened in 2 hours, and it was. They had the engineers and everybody explaining to us that as the executive, this is what happened, and nobody picked up on it. And you read about the guys trapped in the elevator and the mother and the daughter. It was pretty scary stuff. So anyhow, everything's good. You people knocking on doors, good luck to you.
Councillor Barton.
Hey, thanks for rubbing that in, Jack. It wasn't hot at all.
Hardly.
Anyway, I'm just going to comment on some of our young athletes. So, 3 local mountain bikers raced in the World Cup at Mount St. Anne. This was the first World Cup for Malcolm Barton, who happens to be my nephew, and Tyler Rochelle. They both had a great ride. And then Haley Smith, who won bronze at the Commonwealth Games, had her best World Cup finish yet. She finished 8th, which was incredible. And then Emily Batty from Brooklyn finished 3rd. So this was a great time for people that train in Durham Forest.
Thank you. Just a couple other ones. I was fortunate enough to go up to the Eudora Leasdale Lions Club barbecue on the weekend, and they have the gazebo that we put $10,000 into, and it's just about done. They're just putting a steel roof on it now, but it's a great project and fantastic. And I managed to get a Bernese python wrapped around my neck on Saturday too, so it was pretty interesting. And I'm terrified of snakes, but anyway, it worked okay. Anyway, our first delegation this morning is Susie DeBella. Do you want to go to the podium, Susie? Sure. Turn on the mic if you don't mind.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
My name is Susie DeBella, and I've had the privilege of living in Zephyr for just over 9 years now. I've lived in Canada for 45 years. I am a Canadian citizen, born in Bogota, Colombia, and I can still remember the day that I became a Canadian citizen, the feeling of complete joy. The gratitude that I have for all my life experiences in Canada is infinite. I'm currently working on completing my ECE program with Durham College. I have worked with a local child care agency for over 5 years, and I have volunteered to public schools and Catholic schools for 13 years. Since 2012, I've attended over 30 professional learning opportunities offered to frontline staff working with children in child care agencies in the region of Durham. The professional learning opportunities workshops are funded by the government for the region of Durham. The problem is the workshops have limited space and fill up very fast. The workshops are held in Whitby and Oshawa and Ajax. Child care frontline staff that live in North Durham are missing out because it is too far for us to get to. I have here one of their It's a spring newsletter, and here they have all the different types of workshops that they have. They also have a resource library, which you could go to. They have a button maker, large heated laminator, small heated laminator, cool laminator, a die cutter, book binding machine, reading materials, resources, training materials, DVD, children's social stories, and just a bunch of information that early child educators in North Durham cannot get to. There are hours of operation, and when you're getting off work at 6 o'clock, you're not going to make it to get to these wonderful resources or the workshops. The kind of workshops, they do host network sessions. The closest network sessions are held in Port Perry for us sometimes. They have things like progressive discipline and determination, understanding the duty to accommodate for child care organizations and family status, individual support plans made easy, Think, Do, Act, the behavior skills training module. Clearly Speaking, this is held by and hosted by Grandview, and I've attended their workshops, and for those workshops we have to drive to Oshawa. We have visuals, language learning for little ones, fitting in social communication. So a slew of opportunities for us educators to continue to grow, to learn, and to be able to give the best that we can to the community, to the children. And in the long term, it serves all of our needs. So I also want to bring to your attention that on June the 7th, there was a meeting held at the Uxbridge Library. I dropped this document off, and I hope you all had a chance to take a look at it. Quite honestly, when I saw this document for the first time, it was at Wood and Sticks, where they did have a workshop that is now, I think we have about 4 years now in running, where they're holding one event at Wood and Sticks for the North Durham. At that workshop, Sandy Lloyd from the Health Department was trying to get everyone's attention towards taking a look at this document for the different areas in Durham. In Uxbridge, we talked about the possibilities of us getting together on a regular basis to work through the problems and to see what it is that we can do to enhance all the levels and all the domains for all the children here in North Durham. One of the first things that I said when I was looking at this document was, do the leaders of our town know about this document? Have they looked at it? Are they aware of the importance of it? They had no idea, so I wanted to come to talk to you about the workshops and what's happening with ECEs in the north and early child educators trying to get through these workshops. But as well, at the same time, we are all working together as we do in this field. We work with community partners to enhance our community in many different ways. So we'll be getting a new one, September, shortly actually. Hopefully the 2018 results will come, and then we'll know where Uxbridge stands with this results, and then we'll start working towards seeing what we can do. Some of the things that we talked about is what are the strengths of this community. The first thing that came to mind is that we have a community that cares about our children, and we really do put a lot of invested time into making sure that we can give to our community the best that we can. I think we have a beautiful space here in Uxbridge, and my vision, my dream is for us to have and to set up the North Durham hub for early child educators and anybody working in the field. So right now I'm just looking for a space where the town can provide at no cost and connect with the region to coordinate workshops to be held here in Uxbridge, because we're worth it, the children are worth it. So I'm just going to finish up here with what I wrote. If we want the best for the children living in North Durham, we need to make changes to ensure that early learning professionals receive the training and support that is required to keep up with the high demands for quality care in early learning environments. My journey to finishing my ECE program has come. The journey has enlightened me beyond my wildest imagination. I am so excited about joining my peers. My respect for the role that our ECEs and all people working with children has deepened, and I'm ready to join the field force of passionate, nurturing, caring, respectful, kind, inclusive, strong, committed, and amazing people. Together we can stand to advocate for children in all communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. That was great. Any questions, anyone?
Any questions?
Councillor Bryan.
Thank you for your presentation, by the way. Question for you.
Sure.
I'm looking here at the one, vulnerability in social competence.
That's a huge one.
Yes, that's the one that kind of jumped out because it's all red.
Right, right. So what's happening? This is what we were discussing on June the 7th. What's happening to our town? Why is this the case? So we all had our different ideas as to what's happening. My idea was the fact that we can't get to these workshops. I've attended 30. I have 30 and I don't get paid for them. I don't get any recognition. We do this because we want to be able to serve our community and our children. And things are always changing, and the education that comes to us is always changing. So we need to be up to speed with what's happening and what's new and what's working for children and what's not. So we have to gather people from the north to figure that out. We have to grab our leaders from Uxbridge to figure out what's going on, because I think it's for many reasons that this could be happening. But it is of great concern for the health department to bring it to our attention.
Sorry if I can just continue.
Carry on.
I think this is important. When you talk about the children, obviously we all want our children to do better than we do. And if we're having these challenges right now, then it's going to present more problems down the road. If I can make a suggestion, I would suggest you reach out to staff, see if we don't have some facility that would work for you. Certainly they're more cognizant of what we have and where we can go from there. But I appreciate it, and I thank you for bringing this to our attention.
Thank you.
Regional Councillor Ballinger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks very much for your presentation. I guess my first question is, how big of an area are you looking for?
We just need a space, a room that can hold maybe 30 people. We just need people to put our PowerPoint presentations up. Sometimes they just speak from their documents. It's a lot of learning. We engage a lot within the groups of educators that are coming together. So we're not looking for a lot. We're very simple and...
Okay, so now we have the size. How often?
As often as we can. If the Durham region is getting funding for these workshops, and if we can get some of those workshops to head to our area, we should be able to have access to all the same workshops.
When would you know in a schedule when the workshops are?
We have a new schedule coming up for the workshops in September. I can get a hold of the individuals that coordinate all that. They know that I'm here today. This is the first step. This is just a communication, conversation that I'm starting out. But I would love to come together or come with more people, as we've talked about, within more numbers and who are we serving, what agencies, and all that information if it's required.
So when you have a workshop, what are the hours? What kind of hours do you...
The hours are, and thank you for bringing that up. What happens is, when we're working in childcare, we have different shifts. Sometimes we have to be at the agency at 5 o'clock in the morning, which means we'd leave at 3. The workshops will start at 6:30. So if you think of the logistics of getting home, taking care of your family, your kids, getting to the workshop, then leaving the workshop at 9 o'clock. Now, if you're like me and you live in Zephyr, can you imagine the distance, especially coming home in the wintertime, right? If I'm in a ditch, I'm there for the night. Right? So we've brought these concerns, and they're fully aware of the concerns, and the region also has the logistics of why the Durham educators are not getting there for the same reasons that I'm explaining to you and bringing to your attention, that it's just impossible for them to do that.
Okay, the reason I ask those questions, there's no doubt in my mind that there's areas that the town has. But these areas are being used in and out all the time, so they would definitely need to have a schedule to know when you would need this.
Right, so the logistics are, something that wouldn't be a problem working out. I just wanted to bring it to your attention, and let's start rolling the ball and moving forward. If we don't get something happening here right away in September, in the fall, that's okay. Let's just start moving forward and thinking of when we can do this and how we can do that, because for me, I think it's very simple. When we had the meeting at the library, I was a little confused as to why we were paying, why the public health department had to pay the public library to use space, when I know that if I go to any of the schools in our community, that they would say, yes, Scott Central is available on Thursday evenings, come use our library. That's how simple it is. So again, this is for me to bring to the attention of the leaders of Uxbridge. I want you to know that early child education is very, very important, not just now, not just when they're little, but when they're teenagers, when they're adults. All these areas, children from 0 to 6, we have such an impact on them, and they spend, those little ones sometimes 10 hours with us. We need the skills, we need the training, and we need your support to do the best that we can, because it's fundamentally important. There's nothing else more important, I feel, than doing our best to raise our children, not only in this community, but in all communities.
Thank you for bringing this forward. Thank you.
Councillor Beach?
Thank you. Thank you, Susie. I loved your presentation, the message that it holds, and the importance it holds. It is very important, and a lot of the questions have been answered that the other councillors have asked. I feel that, we really should have staff look into this, see what's available, and even if it can't be always the same spot, but someplace within the municipality. And I presume that most of these meetings would be evening meetings.
We have most of these evening meetings are evenings because our work is during the day, and it's hard to get staff to cover. So coverage is very hard in our industry, not only getting somebody, but also because the kids need to see us consistently. So having these workshops in the evening has worked the best. But we take our dinners, and we eat our dinners during the meeting. It's something that is expected. And another thing I want to mention that I didn't is that not all the early child educators that are working in North Durham live in Durham or in North Durham. Some of them live in Lindsay or further. So my point is getting access in this area. We have a beautiful space here in Uxbridge, and I envision a whole center. I found out recently through my studies that we don't have a women's shelter in Uxbridge. So there's a lot of things that we have a need for in our community that relates to children and women that is not here yet. And I think it's about time. We're growing. There's a lot of different social competency. I was shocked that that was an issue in our area. But as we dig deeper and we learn more about what's happening, we can understand and involve everybody. I involved my daughter, St. Angelica. Why do you think this is? What's happening with our children? So I want everyone's point of view, because she goes to school, so she is in the school and she understands from a different point of view. So the more people that we can engage in these sort of conversations, we're going to move further faster, and I don't want to waste any time on this. This is really important that we only have a certain time frame for these children, 0 to 6. is the most important. So
Right.
this is why we need to just start moving on it. So very simply, you know, we just need a space somewhere where we can talk.
Thanks, Susie. Councillor Hyatt.
I have just had one more question. So it wouldn't have to be necessarily right in the town of Uxbridge, like you mentioned, Sanford. Like, could Goodwood be a possibility?
Goodwood would be a good possibility, but I think this would be a good place to have the hub.
Okay.
I envision not just, this is temporary, my vision of having these meetings here is my first step, but like I said, I envision an actual place here in North Durham where all people from all Durham can come and learn from us, because we have amazing people in this community.
Have you approached Skugog or Brock?
This is my first
Okay.
start to, you know, get this ball rolling. Like I said, I've spoken to a lot of people in different areas, but this is my first step forward. I am in the process of finishing. So once I'm done, I have a placement to do in September, and it'll be my final placement, and then I will have more time to go full force and stronger towards my dream and my vision for children.
Okay,
Councillor
thank
Hyatt.
you.
Mhm.
Thank you for coming in today. I appreciate
pleasure.
what you have to say. My wife and my daughter are both educators, so I know exactly what you're doing. I guess some of my questions over the logistics have been answered. I'm just thinking, these courses that you're
The
promoting,
workshops, yeah, the learning opportunities.
they are mandated, I assume, by the Ministry of Education, are they?
There are workshops because we need to know these things.
So it's a
They
supplemental
do
thing.
now have, early child educators are required to do some learning,
Right,
but
right.
this is not the only method that we
So
get
this
it.
would be over and above that.
Yeah, this is, I have, like, I'm not even an ECE yet, and I have 30 diplomas or workshop diplomas or certificates
Yeah.
to start out with.
No, I know exactly what you're
So
saying.
I am thrilled, and I think that I could be and I want everyone to feel empowered. I feel so empowered when I go in January to go back into my role, and I miss it so much, and it's been so hard for me to have to step out of the agency where I'm away from the children doing what I love every single day.
Right.
But I had to finish the education part of it.
Sure.
As well, I also was paying attention to my own family. I have 2 teenagers. I wanted to see how they were adjusting in school, in high school now,
Right.
who their friends were. I had to make sure that my daughter has the opportunity to socialize safely, so I have to be around to drive them around, drive her and her girlfriends around. I was the mom at Scott Central that said to all the other moms, I'm here, I'm off for the next year. My mission is to accommodate our children as much as possible. So I drove around for a year wherever these children wanted to go, listened to them giggle, because it's important for our children to be able to socialize.
Absolutely.
We live in Zephyr, she can't walk anywhere. She wants to come here, she wants to go to the movies, have pizza with her friends. So this is a safe environment. So because I've chosen to live in the country, I also have to make sure that my children are getting what they need as well. So that was part of what I did that.
Yeah.
But again, that was also an opportunity for me to finish my education and continue to do, I've continued to do these workshops. I continue to do training. I just took a workshop in Port Perry. It was sponsored by the Durham College and Employment. I got to do my Red Cross training for free.
Awesome.
And it's the best training I've ever gotten for free. So, and the library, from what I understand, in Port Perry didn't charge Durham College for using the facilities
Right.
for
Right.
2
Well,
days.
I think it's
Right?
a great program. Again, it's just working out the logistics
Work,
of,
yeah, working out
of
logistics.
where and when, I guess,
Right,
is more.
yeah.
And I'm
Right.
glad you mentioned the point that a lot of these educators live in
Out
dispersed
there,
areas
right.
rather than
And
we're
they
all
have
kind of
children
right-
too. A lot of
Yeah.
them have little children, and some of
Exactly.
them are, 55 or, approaching retirement. So there's a whole bunch of things that are,
Exactly.
that come into play when we think about this. But I know that when I came to Canada, I got so many opportunities. I got the best education. I can still remember Mrs. Edwards, my junior K kindergarten teacher. I remember my ESL teacher. So this is an opportunity also for me to give back, most of all.
Educators play a huge role in
Just want to
people's
give
lives.
back. I want to give back to all those women that, they were mainly women. There was, the principals. But I have in my heart all those people that have influenced me in positive ways and that have encouraged me to come here and stand and speak to all of you today because of those people and the passion that they had. When I look at my family, logistics, where we came from, how we got here, and look to see the generation and how this country has helped people. And this is an amazing town. Everybody in this town, the hospitals, the doctors, the dentist, I've had the pleasure of interacting with the hospital in 1 month 3 times for different situations, in emergency situations. And every single time I went, I was so grateful to be in Canada. I was grateful to be in Uxbridge, and I thought I was the luckiest person in the world when I was in a car accident here in Uxbridge, and the police officer came to the dentist to take my report and then drove me to the hospital. Then she went off to see the other person that was involved in the accident and came back to see me in the hospital to make sure I was okay. And I thought to myself, wow, I really, really am so, so lucky.
It's a great...
We're all lucky here, Susie, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
Thank you,
so
Susan.
much.
Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you, Susie. There's a couple items. One of them is correspondence. I believe it's 122. Would somebody like to move to bring that forward? Councillor Barton, seconded by Councillor Bryan. There's one action required on this, and I think that's to declare a proclamation for the ECE Day. Would somebody like to make that recommendation? Councillor Bryan, somebody like to second that? Councillor Beach, all those in favor? Carried. Sorry, I don't think we voted on bringing it forward. Did we vote on that? Okay, well, we're good. Okay. Great, Susie, thank you very much. So we've done the proclamation, we're ready to go, and I think probably what we need to do now is maybe have a motion to have Susie deal with staff and try to get some logistics worked out, and then we can get together again.
Yeah, I'll
Councillor
give you
Bryan?
that motion, because that was what I brought up initially.
Great, thank you.
That would be great.
And seconded by Councillor Beach. All those in favor? What's the matter? Go ahead.
All right. Yes. Refer to staff and have staff bring back a report with a recommendation. And you just can't leave it open-ended. I think you've got to have staff prepare a report and advise you on what it is you're going to be agreeing to give away for free, and that'll give you a handle on what it is. Right now, I think, I wouldn't leave it open-ended at this point.
Correct, so if they can come back with a recommendation, that'd be fantastic.
Great, thank you. Great, Susie, thank you. Have a great day. Our next one is Elaine and Gloria. This is regarding Farm to Train on September 29th and 30th.
Good morning, everybody. We have
Morning.
actually a very quick request. As you know, Farm to Train last year raised $10,000 for our local food bank. And this year, our third year, our goals are a little bit higher. However, what we would like to ask Council, if you would allow the train to run past the restricted time of 7 and allow it to run from 7 to 11 p.m. and then start up at 7 a.m. the next morning on the Sunday. I don't know if that's an option. I'm hoping it is.
Is that what it was? What was it last year? Or was it 2 years?
Last year, I don't believe we asked for the morning start-up. They found it hard, on the Saturday night, they found it hard to get everything prepared. I think Pam could probably answer that a little bit better. Thank you, Pam.
Pam, do you want to answer that?
Yes, thank you. Actually, we asked for the extension at night till 11, but the gentlemen were out of hours, and we did ask for the extension in the morning to be 8 o'clock, but they just need a buffer in case they run out of hours, because they're not permitted, the engineers and whatnot are not permitted to do extra hour, like over a certain amount of hours, and this may not even be used on either end. We just don't know on the configuration of the cars at this point, so they just asked if they could have the buffer in case needed, but they're not going to use it just to use it.
Just to point out that we do notify the residences nearby. We put a notice up in the buildings, let them know. I don't think there were any complaints last year, not that I was aware of.
And I don't think you stopped in Goodwood last year. You stopped part way down? Is that what you did?
Yeah, we accommodate, we try not to stop in
Yeah,
the residential
okay,
area, and
good,
we'll do that again this year.
Okay. All right, Council, what would you like to do with this? Councillor Hyatt.
I think it's a great idea. Just a quick question, does that extension affect the liquor license on the train? Does it have any
No, it does
bearing?
not.
It does not? Okay, thank you.
Somebody like to make a motion to support this? Councillor Hyatt? Councillor Barton? All righty, so that's just going to be a motion to extend the noise bylaw, correct? Great, thank you.
Thank you very much,
Have a
and
great day.
tickets are for sale if you're interested.
Thank you very much. All righty, this is Dan Barkey regarding road damage to concession 4 in 2014. Dan, would you like to come up to the microphone, please? Dan? You can go to the podium if you like.
Morning, Council.
Morning.
When you talk to me, please move up about 4 decibels, and then it goes in. Okay.
Can you hear me?
That I got.
Okay, good.
Here, number 22 now, Dan.
25 and 30, 35. I have a wheat problem with the township of Uxbridge. If I get too close to this mic, let me know. 4 years ago, I was plowing on the 4th concession, and the township of Uxbridge was they came along and retopped it, and I was plowing. When I came out, they had raised the road 6 inches, and the back shear of on the back end of 60 feet from where I sit, sheared the top of the pavement. I received a letter from the township of Uxbridge. Is that you, Jack, there with the... Oh my God, you get the same disease I have. Your hair is kind of fading. Anyway, I came up here to the town office when I received this letter, and I spoke with Jack, and he sent a Brad Suckling. I don't know if he's still an employee of the town or not, down to view this driveway that was not evened out, so you come out, you up over the 6-inch rise, and the plow skewered the road. These big words from you, these people with education. Oh, well, I received the letter and it said there was approximately $2,000 in damage. Well, they went back and put the top on my driveway, and we've been using it now for 4 years. We haven't touched the road again. I came to council to argue when they got the letter. They were going to attach it to a tax form. That meeting did not go well. Council saw a little of my wrath. The lady that was in your chair, Mr. Mayor, took exception to some of the words that I used, and they had their vote, and she dropped the deciding vote. I objected. She rejected. I'll get it around my stroke tongue. She dismissed for a recess. We left. And in the future, I've had over 4 years, 48 bills, 56, 48 bills. Accumulating interest at 2% per month compounded. I thought the township of Uxbridge would have taken it to a small claims court, an arbitrator, but no. In that time, I have purchased the property across the road. I'm now a taxpayer on another farm. They've seen fit to attach this disputed amount to the tax bill of a farm I didn't even own when it happened. Now, I asked for relief from that when I came to council. I'm going to ask again. I'm not going to use that word that upset the last mayor, but I don't know where the democratic process of this country has gone in the township of Uxbridge when they can assess a bill at $2,000, ask for $1,000 when they got the repair bill, then add another $1,000 on at 24% interest, and never a word to say that we got a problem. Yes, we do have a problem. Now, I'm going to ask you to forgive this, and then I'm going to forgive what happened 3 weeks ago.
Mr. Barker, you have a couple other issues. Do you want to get to the next one?
Yes, sir. I got 10 minutes, so the clerk tells me. The Bartolo property on Brock Road is in foreclosure or up for sale for taxes or anything else. My son and I own a 10-year lease on that property. We went in and seeded alfalfa hay down. The Township of Uxbridge, through their bylaw inspector, said they're putting a gate on. That was a great idea. Stop the vandalism in the housing. They gave us a key to do it. They've had people come in and dig test holes to find contamination in the fill that's on that property. The people who dug the test holes left the test hole open. Myself and a 7400 tractor, hay bind on, hit that hole. Busted the hay bind right in two. I'm not going to say what kind of ride I had. The cost to me for that kind of mistake was $33,000. I'm not asking the Township of Uxbridge for $33,000. If I'm stupid enough to drive into a hole, I can pay it myself. But it was left there by the Township of Uxbridge's orders or contractors or workers, whoever it was that went in and dug those holes, left it. So I'm going to ask you again for forgiveness for this. And I'm going to forgive the other because I know I can't collect it from you. And I don't know how else to say that.
Okay, thank you.
That'll be it, sir.
Thank you very much,
I've never met
Mr.
you, but
Barkey.
I'm glad to make your acquaintance,
Thank
but I
you.
wish it was under better circumstances.
Thank you, thank you. Council, what would you like to do with this? I think that there's clearly some legal matters here. Probably should be referred back to Legislative Services, but I'll wait to hear what council has to say. Councillor Ballinger.
Well, I think we should have Mr. Barkley come in, and we should sit down in an office and talk with Mr. Barkley.
I agree.
And I think that's the way it should be done. I don't think we should be voting right here in council right now. I think I'd like the gentleman to come to the township office and sit down with staff and discuss exactly what you discussed here now. And let's come to terms with this, and let's get rid of it. That's my suggestion.
Okay, so Councillor Ballinger is making a recommendation that we arrange a meeting with Mr. Barkey and staff as soon as possible. And seconded by Councillor Barton. Good. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Mr. Barkey. What we're going to do is we're going to set up a meeting with you as Councillor Ballinger suggested, and we'll see if we can resolve this. You're quite welcome. I don't see Mike Jones here today. 10:50? Oh, we're early. Okay. Was there another one on the agenda? These two, right? Melanie and Rita, are they here? Okay. So how about we move on? Let's deal with some correspondence and see if we can clear some of that up while we're waiting. We're a little bit ahead of schedule, so. Alrighty. So let's go to item 6, approval of the minutes. Councillor Hyatt, second. A and B, Councillor Hyatt, moved them, seconded by Councillor Beach. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Correspondence number 120, AMO Communications, RE Ford government announces legislation impacting municipal governments and changes to cannabis implementation.
What would you like to do with this, Council? Councillor Hyatt?
I guess just a question through you to staff. Are we going to be receiving more information from the province on this as it unfolds, or or is there
Let's
a
hope
plan,
so.
or do we know anything?
God, let's hope so, because so far we got nothing.
Because it's a big issue, not
Yeah.
only for us, but for police, for
God, yeah.
emergency services, everything here.
Currently, we have not received any correspondence from the
Really?
Ontario government,
Okay.
only AMO and FCM.
I'm sure there's a check on the way to
So
support the
are we all going
enforcement.
to rely on AMO, I guess, to look after our interests, I guess would be my next question. They've done a good job, but I think as municipalities as well, we need to double up on that,
Oh,
so.
yeah. I'm sure it'll be a hot
this-
topic, yeah.
As the correspondence comes in, we need to respond to it, I think.
So can we have a motion to receive this? Councillor Hyatt, seconded by Councillor Barton. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.
121, Ontario Good Roads Association, RE OGRA, establishes MOU with Transnomis to coordinate connected and autonomous vehicle technologies.
Councillor Barton?
A motion to receive, and this is a really good step forward.
Yeah, great. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Bryan, all's in favor? Carried.
Correspondence 123, Lake Simcoe Conservation Foundation, RE 31st Annual Conservation Dinner on Wednesday, June 12th, 2019.
Can I just suggest that maybe we book 4 tickets next year, but we don't need to book them now. We'll just receive it now, okay? Moved by Councillor Bryan, seconded by Councillor Barton to receive. All's in favor? Carried. Thank you. We'll just do a few more.
124, City of Hamilton, RE Cannabis Grace Period Request.
Anybody like to support this? What do you want to do with it?
I think this kind of refers back to
Yeah.
my previous questions. I mean, I support it, but I'm not sure what's coming. So
Yeah,
6 months is good for me, so I would support it.
Motion and support by Councillor Hyatt. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bryan. All's in favor? Carried.
125, City of Toronto, RE Immediate Steps to Address Gun Violence.
I'm not real sure that this is a coroner's office issue, but what would you like to do with it? Councillor Barton.
Yeah, I would support this.
Good.
I think this needs to be a big picture of what's going on, and it doesn't stop at the borders of the GTA.
No, absolutely not. Seconded by Councillor Beach. All's in favor? Carried. Thank you.
126, Township of Howick, RE Request to amend Ontario Regulation 30-11 to allow borrowing of funds from the Care and Maintenance Trust Fund for capital improvements and purchases for cemetery boards.
Councillor Barton.
Yeah, I think we should send this back to the Clerk's Department for comment, just so that we know if this would actually help us or not.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't realize that they have funds that are, I guess as I read it, they have funds that are designated for capital only, but they're not spending any capital, so anyway. Can we do that? So if a motion to refer it back to staff, to Clerk's Department, seconded by Councillor Beach? And Treasury probably too.
Sure.
Okay. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. We're on a roll? Yeah, we're on a roll. Let's go for a few more.
Correspondence number 127, City of Niagara Falls, RE North American Free Trade Agreement.
Lots about this in the news today, that's for sure, and all weekend. Councillor Hyatt.
I would support this. Although we don't hear a lot about it directly in the news, there is a lot of backroom negotiations going on this whole NAFTA thing. So I'm being positive and thinking at the end of the day, both us and Mexico are going to come out with a deal that everybody can work with. The posturing that goes on from the White House, I guess we're all kind of sick of listening to that, but this will come out in a new form of some, and I think we need to support it.
Motion support by Councillor Hyde. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bryan. All's in favor? Carried.
128, Uxbridge Scott Historical Society, RE request to proceed with the 5th Annual Beer and Cider Garden at Heritage Day on Sunday, August 26, 2018.
So we'll need a motion to declare this a municipally significant event. Councillor Barton.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Great.
Great addition.
Seconded by Councillor Beach. Any questions? All's in favor? Carried. We did it.
Yeah. Correspondence 130, Crystal and Matthew Roncato, RE concerns regarding speeding and reckless driving at Herma Fields, Uxbridge.
This could be every street in our town, really. Councillor Hyde?
And just for council's information, we've been working with Parks and DRPS, not all specifically on this incident, but there's been major things going on in that subdivision as well as across town, I'm sure. That's the number one complaint I get is people speeding, not paying attention to traffic signs. Because of where this is on the edge of town, they have, well, I'm not going to use the word decimated, but there's problems going on in that park at various hours of the day. Some of it's in daylight, believe it or not. This is just one symptom of it, people going in there and doing donuts on the gravel parking lot. Jack and I have kind of discussed this. I'm thinking if there's a way we could put a gate on that property, even a chain, to keep people out at night, but again, this is going on in daylight hours, so I'm not sure how we would deal with it. Bob Ferguson is aware of the situation. He's been very proactive, and Jamie as well, in coming up with solutions. If you can believe this, they went in and they stripped the bark off of a maple tree, and I don't know if it's the same culprits that are doing this, but again, it's probably a very select group of people that are continuing to carry on, and I know DRPS is on the case. They've upped their patrols. They have, you know, cruisers going through that area on a regular basis, and they've always have, but they've stepped it up as well. So we are responding, and we're working together in cooperation with them to resolve this.
Maybe Bob could put that camera in there for,
That was one of the other solutions that we had. They've done, and the list is endless, ripping up gold nets. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Okay.
But DRPS is aware of it, and they're on the situation.
Councillor Ballinger.
Yeah, I think we do have to look at a gate at, nighttime there. I mean, let's just take a look at Elgin, Park, and when you come in off of Main Street, you try to go left to rip around the park, the gate is there to stop you. The only place you can go is to the right, to the band shell, and then if you go any further, there's another gate up. But I think we have to protect the park, and we have to protect the neighbors, so I think they should look at a gate to be opened and closed at certain times.
Can I make a
Thank you.
suggestion that
Thank
we
you.
refer this back to Bob and see if he can come up with that gate
Great.
solution?
And, you know, if you don't mind me just throwing in here, we talked about DRPS, and I met with them last week. We have a new officer in charge in North Durham Region. And what was very interesting was, in the conversation, is that we always hear, we see on social media, we see people complaining about speeding, hear people talking about speeding all the time in town. But you know what, quite honestly, DRPS don't get a lot of complaints. And we really have to get active about complaining and pointing out areas, and we have to be the squeaky wheel. We really do. And in the discussions we had with them, we talked about there used to be 2 traffic police, and quite frankly, radar is sort of on the bottom of the list for most of the policemen in town. It's sort of a thing that they don't do very often. But the 2 new people in charge of that division believe that the officers at North Durham have time to do it, and they're really pushing hard. But they really need complaints, and we have to be the squeaky wheel and get on them. And what they have now is they have a new tracking system. They're going to track exactly how many complaints they get from every street or for wherever area it is. And you'd be surprised how few complaints they really do get. So we really have to get very, very proactive about complaining. They need to know. We complain, and quite frankly, they aren't on Facebook. So, you know, you can complain on Facebook all you want, but North Durham Police aren't on it. Councillor Barton.
Yeah, just in addition to the gate, we have a building there. I think we should add a security camera that's permanent, a couple in that building, hook up a wireless connection, then add it to our other cameras in the area. We should maybe send that to budget, but,
Yeah, make a motion to refer that to budget,
Okay.
then, Councillor Barton. Okay?
I'll give you that.
So is motion to refer the security camera to budget, 2019 budget, moved by Councillor Barton, seconded by Councillor Beach. All those in favor? Carried.
Just
Okay,
another
Councillor Hyde.
comment. You mentioned you've had a discussion with DRPS already. I've had discussion with not only residents in this area, but across the ward about neighborhood watch, as we know, road watch. Some of them have been very proactive in following that through.
Yeah.
But I think everybody kind of has to get on side with this. It can't be just, you know, you hope that the police are there on that particular day, because it has to be, you know, monitored. You got to track who these vehicles are, who these individuals are, and
Yeah.
then report it, as you say.
Yeah.
Because without that, they really don't have anything to follow up on, so.
And if you don't mind me plugging Road Watch a
And
little
maybe
bit.
that's something that we could promote
We should.
in our literature and on our website, is to get people involved, right?
With Road Watch, they get less than 100 complaints a year through the whole township. But the good thing about Road Watch is, if you do have a complaint about a car speeding through town, and the report does go to Road Watch, if that car is later pulled over, the report comes up on the screen that they've been already, the vehicle has already been complained about during, and that generally means they won't get much of a favorable decision. So good to know. We really need to promote that more, that's for sure. So where are we, Catalina? We voted on that already? We're going to the next one?
Yes, I'm going to skip item 131 to deal with it during the delegation.
Great, thank you.
So 132, Township of Uxbridge Accessibility Advisory Committee, RE proposed sidewalk changes to be implemented during the reconstruction of the Brock Street culvert.
Obviously, this is a big deal, so let's probably refer to staff. But Councillor Hyatt?
Yeah, we've included this as part of our streetscape. Ingrid, I believe you're working on that plan right now.
It has not been included as part of the streetscape.
Accessibility? I thought accessibility was included.
The request that's being made is to consider, when that area is completely ripped up, to use the sidewalk money from 2019. It's not been part of the Main Street funding.
Oh, that's what they're requesting.
The Main Street funding was more for beautification, but I think that this is worthwhile. If it looks like the numbers work from an engineering perspective, then I think we should look at taking the 2019 sidewalk budget, allocating it fully to this, and if it requires additional funds, then staff should come back and make council aware of it. Sometimes it's easier to do it when it's ripped apart than ripping it apart later.
So I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair, to refer this as well to the 2019 budget.
Okay. Seconded by Councillor Barton. Do you have a question first, Dave?
I'll make a comment. This came out of, Terry Baskin and I. We went down and looked at the levels of the stores, and our concern is if we don't do this during construction, that the height of the shoe store, where it will be built, will end up being low for the rest of the stores, so it'll be impossible to fix after the fact, which is why we're pushing this ahead of construction, to ensure that that store is built at the correct level.
Great, and you've seconded that,
Yeah,
right?
I'm not seconding
Great. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Oh.
Sorry, I was writing.
Sorry, Kathleen.
My committee too, right, so I was like, So, number 133, Lisa Mahoney, RE request for letter to the Chief Firearms Officer for cowboy-mounted shooting.
Okay, we've seen this already once before. Councillor Beach?
I just
Your
want to make
ward.
a comment. I did go visit, and I see what she's doing. I spoke to actually one of the neighbors who happened to be coming up to feed a horse there at her place. I mean, I think we really should move ahead, like with a 6 months, see how it goes. She really is trying to follow everything step by step, and I really think where she's located, especially in the arena, that it shouldn't be a problem. And then there's an outside area which is a very deep area that it would be interesting to see what the sound is like there. I'm not too convinced about the outdoor arena proper. That would definitely be a third choice, but in the arena, I can't see it would be.
So maybe you can make a motion that we'd permit her, I think that's our option one, as a matter of
Yes.
fact. If we make a motion to permit her temporarily on a 6-month basis
Yes,
to practice in the indoor arena only?
yes.
Oh, sorry, is that option?
Is it option 3? Sorry.
Inclusion of the
And then-
that's outdoor
And, yeah,
pattern.
Andre has this in his report.
Oh, yeah, okay, so I'm looking at her letter, okay. Alrighty, so, any other questions on that?
Well-
You're gonna move that, Councillor Beach?
Yes.
Councillor Ballinger?
It's just a comment, but you know, going through this and looking, this lady's done a lot of work. Even out there, measuring the decibel, readings. And I think if we can help her, we should be helping her.
Already good, so we have a mover, and do we have a second?
Yeah.
Did you second it, Dave?
I would second it, but Andre actually has a report later in
Yeah.
where
Want-
he talks about what his recommendation is.
Would you like to bring that report forward now?
I would, but I just have to find the number.
Do you know what number it is? I'll tell you in a sec.
Here it is. It is,
Sorry, which one, Gord?
yeah,
Page 124.
1518, page 124. All right, so we have a motion to bring that forward, please. Councillor Hyatt, Councillor Beach, all those in favor? Carried? Good. What would you like to do with this report? Councillor Barton?
I would move the recommendations of this report.
Thank
It
you.
covers what Pam wanted.
Great, thank you. Second by Councillor Hyatt.
Oh.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Carried. Great, thank you.
Now we're moving on to our addendum correspondence.
Great. Thank you.
So, correspondence number 134, Superlin Vignaraja, RE request to erect a privacy screen at One Country Club Crescent.
Council, what would you like to do with this? I'm not sure what the process is to do this, but Councillor Hyatt?
Yeah, I would support this. There are several properties in that, development that have screens, and we have approved them in the past.
Okay.
Because of where this property is, I think they have a very valid point of why they want this. So I would support it.
Is this something that should be going down through our building department first, before it comes to us? or-
I would assume they would have had conversations. I don't know if they're here today, but.
Are you here?
Oh, okay.
Could we ask that she come to the microphone? Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that she comes.
Council- Councillor Hyatt, seconded by Councillor Ballinger, all in favor? Carried, great. And, Brian, would you mind coming forward as well? Would you like to come up to one of the mics for us, please?
The mic or the,
You can use the
desk.
podium or the desk, whichever you prefer. Brian, you can use the desk.
I guess I'll ask my first question to the applicant. You talked to the condo corp already, they're okay with that? Could you put your mic on? Just push the button.
Just hit that little button, thank you.
Yes, I have.
Because we had an issue way back when the first people wanted this. And
Okay.
it went back and forth. You've saved yourself some time, obviously, that's
Yeah,
good.
so I've planted trees for privacy to begin
Yeah.
with, but they keep dying, so they're
Right.
not happy with the appearance
no.
of that, so they recommended the
And
screen.
there are several others, as you're quite well aware in
Yes,
the
like
area.
down my line, everyone has
Yeah.
privacy screens.
So Brian, do you have any comment on that?
My only comment would be it wouldn't go through the building department because it's just a requirement in our fence bylaw, so we just need not a variance, but approval from council.
Ingrid, just one moment. Ingrid, go ahead.
What I would like to see is that we would actually get a letter from the condo board for our file, and then that way, you know, if there's ever any problem in the future, we can at least pull that letter and say that we actually had permission from the board. That would-
Okay, that's not a problem. They already agreed to do that.
So at this point, we can make a motion to approve it subsequent to get a letter,
Okay.
okay? And it's moved by Councillor Hyatt, seconded by Councillor Beach. Are there
And
any
do
other-
I just forward the letter to Catalina, or
Pardon me?
who do I forward the letter to? Okay, perfect.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Brian. We're
All
done
right.
with correspondence, right?
Almost. We just received a walk-on as well,
sorry.
regarding
And I brought
the
it.
Army Cadet Corps.
And I brought it. Sorry, I should know that. In front of you is a letter from our number 76 Uxbridge Cadet Corps. And all they're asking for is next June, I guess they're doing a lot of planning, so they'd like to get it together. They're doing a review, and they'd like the use of the arena in June, just to use the main floor of the arena. Councillor Ballinger.
I'll give you a motion that they get the arena in June, talk with Mr. Ferguson. If it's open, then there's no charge.
Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Beach, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Great. Thank you.
One more item of correspondence that was walked on. So we have a request to use the band shell at Elgin Park. You all received a letter, a copy of the email, to use free of charge for yoga, for a charity.
This is for Jennifer Ashley, okay? Council, would you like to do it? Councillor Beach?
I would like to allow them to use it. I think it's a great, you know, Jennifer Ashley Foundation is a great, using the band shell would be a great thing to do.
Okay, so you're making a motion to support that?
Yes.
They'll have to coordinate it, obviously, through
Yes.
Parks.
Parks, yes.
Councillor Ballinger, or Barton, you'll second that? Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Are we done now, Catalina?
Yes.
Some delegations. Who was next? Mike was next, right?
Yes.
Mike, you're up next. This is Mike Jones regarding request for a fill permit to change the grading at 473 Highway, Old Highway 47. Thanks, Mike. What is this?
Found a pen. Hi there. Thanks for seeing me again. Last time I was here, I was, I'm not sure if you all remember, but I was requesting a grade change at 473 Old Highway 47. Council at that time referred it to the Fill Committee for their recommendations. Unfortunately, the Fill Committee, and it's my understanding, they did not recommend it. So it was a no, or their recommendation was a no. And I was asked to come back to council and see what council has to say, because the Fill Committee is just a recommendation, and I'm here to, you know, to appeal to you to allow a grade change, so.
Just so I could just throw some info in there, Mike, if you don't mind. One of the situations with the fill permit, in our township, we don't permit commercial fill, which means you're getting paid to bring fill to the site. That's why the Fill Committee said no to the proposal, but there's some options, I think, available still.
Okay.
Keep going, Mike.
All right. So, I made up my own application, my
I see
fill
that.
permit application. I was gonna have you fill it out, but I wanted to save some time. I only had 10 minutes, right? So,
Yeah, apparently everything's yes. Apparently everything's yes on it, Mike. I know.
No,
second page has a
page
few
2,
no's.
there's lots of
I
no's,
know.
but
There's-
no's are good sometimes.
There's 4
so.
no's on the back, I get
For
it.
no, but no's are good sometimes. I mean, I can go through all of this, it might be a little redundant, but, it was my understanding, and I think when I spoke to Debbie, I think the greatest fear of allowing a fill permit in Uxbridge is, well, if we let you do it, we gotta let everybody do it.
A commercial fill permit.
Commercial fill permit. Now, are you qualifying me as a commercial fill permit?
If you get paid to receive fill on your property, that becomes a commercial fill permit. That's the biggest issue we have with this. And in our previous discussions, we talked about the fact that you were getting paid by some of the other companies to bring fill to your property.
Right.
So, if you don't mind me just throwing something in here.
Sure.
How about if we considered allowing you to bring your fill to the property, and I would also include township fill, by the way,
Okay.
to your property, but only your fill to the property,
Right.
and also township fill, for example. And I think that would sort of get us around the commercial fill issue that we have with it, where you're getting paid to receive fill. To me, that might be a compromise, Mike, for you to consider.
Okay. I think that's a great option. My only concern is, I wanted to expedite this process, do it within a year and a half. We dig 40 pools a year.
That's kind of why I threw in the township piece.
Yeah, and I mean, alls I really want to do is change the grade, and that's the true fact. Jones Pools, my daughter and son-in-law, they're not going to receive money from Jones Pools if
Right.
it comes from our swimming pools. So that's an easy one. That's an easy fix. I was trying to get Secord, our excavator, only to, now how much volume would the township have? Like, would they be able to bring 500 loads in a year? Or?
I don't think it'd be that high, Mike, tell you the truth. But I don't know for sure. I
Right.
know that we do a lot of ditching and that sort of thing, and so
Right.
we are always looking for sites
Right.
to leave the soil. I don't know the answer to that.
And is that really the only stumbling block, was payment? Is
Commercial
that-
fill, we do not permit
Right.
as township commercial fill.
Right. So if we didn't receive, my daughter and son-in-law didn't receive any money for filling in the area, then it would be
We could consider it for sure.
we could consider it for sure, okay.
That's a real stumbling block for us, Mike, and we talked about
Yeah.
before, and that's the whole stumbling block going further by setting a precedent, is
Right.
that money issue. As you know, it's
Right.
it's
And,
a
and
serious matter.
this really isn't about the money, it's just about, and I hope you believe that. And,
But as you know, when we make one deal,
Yeah. Yeah.
it'll
No,
apply
and
to
I-
everybody. That's why we're being very cautious.
Yeah, and I think, the reason I put a whole bunch of this, because I really wasn't explaining that when I found out the committee recommended no, and it was more, well, if I give you one, I gotta give, the other people one, and it was just a quick phone conversation, right? So that's really why I'm here, so.
But we have been discussing it the last few days, trying to find a way to make it work. That's
Right.
where this is sort of coming from.
Okay, no, that's great. So, next step is just maybe I write up something differently and can I, what do I do next?
My suggestion would be not to have you keep coming back and forth. I
Okay.
think probably the best thing that we can do is Debbie's back next week, and Ben is here as well, and we can have a meeting and talk about the fill that we generate and our testing protocol,
Yeah,
and then talk about what you are going to generate, and then create some sort of an agreement from that.
okay,
We'll deal with it if council's giving a blessing to proceed with Mike's fill from his own operation and township fill that meets the testing requirements, then we will, as staff, we will make sure that we get the agreement done and put a bylaw in September to enter into that agreement.
And we test all of everything we have, we test.
Perfect.
So.
Perfect.
Can I get a few questions in for you, Mike, here?
Sure.
Councillor Barton.
Actually, this is more of a suggestion than a question. Mike, would you be willing to let other pool companies like Main Street and Hickling, fill that comes from local companies come onto this property, or no?
no.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, fair.
Sorry, that was humor, that was
No,
competitive humor.
It was a
so.
good one.
Yeah, I would have no problem with that, as long as it's, as long as they want to bring fill and it's soil tested, absolutely, right? So, and I would welcome local fill, right?
Yeah, and I'm thinking of a way
Yeah.
for this to help you, help other
Yeah.
local companies evenly.
As long as, my biggest concern would be as long as it's controlled, as long as I know when they're coming, as long as I don't go driving when it's muddy and tracking on the road, and then I become responsible. So I like the control myself personally, I mean, I know the towns, if the town makes a mess, they'll be accountable, right? But I don't know these other guys well, and I wouldn't say no because they're my competitors, but as long as they follow all the guidelines and not make a mess at our place, right? So.
I totally get it. So
Yeah.
that would be my only suggestion, trying to fit that in as well.
Councillor Ballinger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I've been known on record since I've been in the council that I'm strictly against commercial fill. I've been knowing that, it's in my brochures, and I only gotta look to what's happened to the east of us, where there's lawsuits and there's counter lawsuits. I can recall, well, it's 10 years ago, where council took a trip over to Queensville to look at a place, and this was the ultimate, Phil site was made in heaven. Nothing could go wrong. It's now closed and gone. There's the good guy out there and there's the bad guy. I believe you're the good guy.
Thank you.
But it doesn't change my opinion on commercial fill.
Right.
And I think the fill committee now are undergoing an experiment, we'll say with Dagmar, right now, where they're trying to put in a new slope and they have to bring in fill. And that's being tested, and one fill operation right now is enough for me. I have no problem with your suggestion that Mr. Jones looks at his own fill and looks at the township. I don't have a problem with that, because I know it's gonna be good, clean fill. But I have not changed my mind in the township of Uxbridge having commercial fill.
Councillor Bryan. And Councillor Beach.
Thanks again for coming in, Mike. I appreciate certainly what Councillor Ballinger is saying. When you were in last time, you had talked about how you're not gonna have bad fill, your family's there, the kids are there, the whole deal. So without a doubt, you have that vested interest that it needs to be clean fill.
Right.
I think that going forward, this is a great idea to take it from the own pools. Obviously, you know that land.
Yep.
The soil we're gonna get from the township, I think is a great idea, because you know that's gonna be clean.
Yep.
And that really is part of our role here, is to make sure that what you're doing is abides by the rules, one, and two, it's gonna be environmentally safe. So I don't doubt the second part at all. So I agree with Councillor Ballinger, you are one of the good guys.
Thank you.
So is Councillor Ballinger, actually, but that's another story.
Yeah, he's a pretty good guy.
But anyway, so that's, like, I don't have a problem with this, so I can certainly go forward with those suggestions. But thank you for coming back, and thank you for filling this out for me, that's great.
You're welcome. Saved you a lot of time.
Councillor Beach. Councillor Beach.
Thank you, Mike, for coming in, and I appreciate, I know exactly what you want to do, I understand it, and you are one of the good guys, okay?
Thank you.
Like, I think if it was your fill from your pools, the township, I am totally comfortable with that, because I know it'll be monitored. I do have an issue with even other pool companies bringing in, it's too much, and things can go wrong, and I don't want to see things go wrong for you. So, you know, I know it could be at a slower pace than you want, and I understand, but that part makes me a little too nervous.
Yep.
And I don't want something going wrong for you in the end.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that.
Great. All right, so we'll need a motion to, did you have something, Gord? Sorry, go ahead.
Just a quick question. Thanks for coming in again, Mike. Is there a way to phase this project? I know you want to get it done ASAP, but is there a way to do it in sections, and that way you can know when you have a reliable, clean source? You know, do you understand what I mean? Like over a 2-year period, would you be able to do it better than doing it, sort of jam it all into the 6 months or something?
Yeah, no, I was hoping to do, to do it, between, about a year and a half. And I was kind of gauging, how many loads, how many pools we dig.
Sure, yeah, no, I understand.
We could do 40 pools, and we only would dump maybe 2 of them at this dump site, because some is fill on site, some is out in Newmarket. Well, we find sites in Newmarket, or if we're in, most of the time, if we're in the city, we have to haul from the city back to this area, right?
But could you do your build project, if I can call it that, your regrading over time?
Right.
So you do this
Oh, yeah,
area,
yeah,
and then
and-
you do that area kind of thing, and...
And we would just leave, there would be a machine there all the time, so if 5 loads come in that day, they'd be graded and done, and as we get it graded, then we can, we get to the fall, bring some trees, plant that area that's done, and work our way backwards. Maybe it takes 3 or 4 years, as long as it's not, making a mess, and it's not gonna hurt traffic. We would make sure it's clean and neat and safe, and, yeah, I don't mind if it takes a few years, absolutely.
Well, the
So,
thing is
as long
too, as you're altering the site, you may change perspective and say,
Yep.
maybe we need to do this or that,
Yep.
right? So,
Oh, absolutely.
so that would be a good...
Yeah, no, I think that's,
Great.
Great
And
idea.
that,
So
and
maybe-
that would also handle where the fill is coming from and
Yep.
the quality, right?
So I think maybe if we could get a motion to support Mike's request with a meeting with staff I guess, it's hard to say how we want to do that. We like the idea, but we want staff to come up with an agreement. Ingrid, do you want to clarify something? Go ahead.
Yeah, I need to clarify. Councillor Barton, you put forward that maybe he would look at other sites. Is the consensus to look at other sites or stay with one source only?
I think it's pretty clear that's not going to fly.
One source?
Yeah. Okay. Okay? So do you know what you...
I have a motion, I
Would
can
you
read
want
it
to read
back.
it for us, Catalina, please?
That a meeting be set up with the Director of Legislative Services and Director of Public Works to proceed with Mike's own fill and township fill that meets requirements and testing.
Okay, and that's moved by Councillor Beach, seconded by Councillor Hyatt. All in favor? Carried. All right, Mike, let's work and get it done. We'll get it done.
Perfect. Want me to come to the meeting?
Yeah, you too.
I like meetings. Anyway. Thanks very much, everybody, and so then somebody will somebody will call me and...
Real soon, Mike. Debbie's
Okay.
back next week, so...
That's awesome. Thanks very much, guys.
We have another delegation. Melanie and Rita. Oh. Yeah, you're up. You're up. Sorry. Come on down. And Robin. I was looking, going, I know it's you two. I don't know what... Oh, that's what's on the, sorry, that's what's on the correspondence. Oh, okay.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us. This is Rita. My name is Robin. I have a 21-year-old son, Dylan Pitt. He has just graduated high school alongside Rita's daughter, Michaela. Dylan is an active, happy, engaging young man who likes to be busy. And for the last 16 years, his days have been full in school. While he's been in high school, he's literally had the potential to share with 1,500 people every day. And he loves that. Every day he says to me, what am I doing tomorrow? What am I doing Wednesday? What am I doing Thursday? He's now graduated high school. There is in the township of Uxbridge, there is only one organization that provides full day programming. That's Community Living. They've told me 10 to 15 year wait list. They have a very limited number of spots. You can get in as early as 18, but most of these students stay in school till they're 21. Once you're in, you can stay till you're 65. So you can take that spot for years and years and years. It is a government subsidized program, so the wait list is huge. We are looking to fill the gap in Uxbridge. If we lived south of the 407, there are 50 or 60 programs like the one we're starting up that you could go to. I'm not willing to transport him down there in the winter every day. And I want him to remain in his community, engaged with his community. So Rita and I have started up a nonprofit organization. We have not yet received our charitable status. That's about a year's process. We have started the application. We expect to receive it eventually. We're looking for some startup funds. We are going to run a program 9 to 4, 5 days a week. 1 teacher to 4 participants. Durham College has partnered with us. They're willing to send up a co-op student each semester, so the teacher won't be on her own. We've got all sorts of volunteers from the community who have expressed an interest in helping out. We will be going into the community at least 3 days a week, whether it be swimming or bowling or the Zares cooking program or all sorts of things. We have a new business in town that's willing to partner with us. Once they open in a year or 2 down the road, they're willing to actually hire our participants. They said that they would have jobs for every ability. Dylan thinks he's going on to get a job because he knows when you leave school you go get a job. And I don't have the heart to tell him that he can't do that. But he could do some volunteer work. Douglas Crossing is willing to partner with us. Reachview is willing to partner with us. And our dream down the road, if this thing flourishes, and I absolutely believe it will because there is a huge need, is to open a coffee shop downtown Uxbridge, completely staffed and run by special needs adults in the community. Rita has been in various places around the world and has visited these types of restaurants. She can attest that they work. The community just absolutely loves it, supports it. There's lineups in some of these places to get in. So that's kind of our goal down the road. But right now, phase 1, 4 students, 9 to 4, providing meaningful day programming, keeping up their academics, job skills, money management, learning to use our local transportation, getting out into the community and staying engaged. So I'm going to let Rita say something now.
Yeah, I don't know. I think she said it all. I just think that you, one thing I guess, on Wednesday nights in our community at United Church, there's a group that meets. And there's probably between 80 participants that go there that are special needs. I would have never known that. I didn't know that our community had that many special needs in our community. And I think that they're isolated and they're not integrated. She referred to me being somewhere. I went to Holland 2 years ago, and no more than that, 5 years ago, and I had the opportunity to see something different, that these businessmen decided to run a cafe, or a cafe, and they had the special needs serving, and it was embraced by the community, and it was a new model that they had, and I thought, I love this. It makes me passionate about what I want for my child. I have a daughter that's 20, she'll be 21 soon. I've been doing this for 21 years, and just want something different, want to see special needs valued and in our community, and having a face and giving, not just for them, but also for the community to see what they have to offer. The one beautiful thing about my daughter, and I think Dylan too, is they don't give a crap about self-esteem. They don't worry about what you think about them. They just embrace you and hug you and say, hey, you know, you're my friend. I mean, Dylan's biggest line is, you are my friend. Oh, Rita, you're my friend. And I love it. There's no inhibitions there, and they have something to offer, and that's what I'd love to see happen. Just the other part of it is there is 21,000 people, special needs, on a waiting list for funding. And so there's a huge list. There are, that I know of, 8 families that have had to have their children stay home because there was no place to go. Like Robin said, there is community living, full. They also are limited in their space, are looking for extra space, but want to do fee-for-service. We have Precious Minds. They do 1 day a week. That's about it. And then the other one is Ability Center, and then some of the other programs that Robin was saying, but that's a 45-minute drive. And so there's nothing here in the north, and so we just want to keep our kids in the community. So that's all I'll say. Thanks.
Thank you, Rita.
Any questions?
We've met already, so
Yeah.
I know it's a great project and a great idea and a big need in our community. Questions, Councillor Bryan?
Thank you for coming in. I know Dylan. My daughter just graduated high school too. I get choked up with this stuff. And it's wonderful. Go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Bryan.
And I thought I was going to cry.
Councillor Barton.
I'll say a few extra words.
Yeah, take a break, please, for Fred.
I would do that when I cry. Dave takes over.
Yeah. We know this is a huge need. We need volunteers to step up. The best things that happen in Uxbridge are typically volunteer-based. And thank you for taking this on. When you see programs like this, and then the success of children after they learn on the job, they can actually fit into some sort of employment in the future, and it makes them self-sufficient so they can go on when the adults in their lives are no longer with us. So thanks a lot for planting this.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Do you want to jump in, Fred? You all right now? All right, go. You're good. You're done. Well, I think probably what we could do now, if you don't mind, is we could maybe make a motion to refer this to our golf fund and maybe recommend the max, whatever, as much as we can give. Do you have more questions over there? Do you have a
I'd like to
question?
refer it to golf fund.
Okay.
But I just want to say, like, I think this is very important. It's something we really need to look at and see what we can do. Actually, if one of you could maybe give me a call later today, I would appreciate it. I've just got an idea about something.
We're always in for ideas.
So, okay, we will. Okay, Councillor Hyatt?
Thank you for coming in, ladies. I've known Dylan at St. Joe's for years and years. He's a great kid, and we certainly want to give him opportunities beyond high school. And I don't know your daughter yet, but I'm sure she's pleasant as well. Do you have space lined up? You kind of didn't really talk about it in your presentation.
So, we did look downtown Uxbridge, but the cost of renting and trying to start up is limited. So, we are going to be using my property as a means in the interim. So I have gone down to the department downstairs to make sure that it's viable.
Okay. All right.
So I have done that, and so we are using my property as a means. We're just trying to keep the cost down so that we can do everything we can that goes into the program, and you know,
I think it's great.
Be manageable on
and I
moving
fully
forward.
support whatever the golf fund comes up with. It's it's a need that isn't being serviced, as you said, and it's you know, when it's your own family and your own community, that's huge. You know, and it's, anyway, I wish you all the best with it. You certainly have my full support.
So the first thing we need to do is to move the correspondence. It was 132? 131. Someone like to make a motion to Councillor Barton, Councillor Beach, all's in favor? Carried. Also now we'd like to make a recommendation to refer this to, with our full support, to the Golf Fund Committee. And Fred is on the Golf Club Committee, so I think you're in good hands. So, so I'd like to have a motion, please, to refer this, Councillor Barton, Councillor Hyatt, refer this to the Golf Fund Committee, please. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. So let's, thanks for coming in. You do some great work. Thank you so much. All right. We're going to reports now. Is that where we're at, Catalina?
Yep.
I think. Good. Okay. We're going to reports.
Approval of
Reports
minutes.
to sorry? We did that already, didn't we? We did that. Reports to council. This is report 0318 from Carolyn. Health and safety. This is a MOL initiative regarding ergonomics in municipalities. Holy smokes. Anyway, do you want to come up, Carolyn? Do you have any questions of the report? What would you like to do with this? Oh, Councillor Hyatt?
Just a question through you to Carolyn on the seminar. Is that for everybody, or is it just for certain staff members?
It was open to any staff members.
Is it?
I've attended both seminars.
But you're recommending the public works staff attend, right?
There is a seminar for the public works.
Public works.
In September. I'm working with Public Service Health and Safety to set that up.
Okay.
And
is there any plan to have all of staff kind of up to speed on these kinds of things?
mostly Public Works, because they will be
Because they're
actually the physical inspection will be done
By them?
at Public
Okay.
Works.
But for future considerations, it might, you know, have a mini seminar, if you will, for general
Yeah.
staff, because I think everybody needs to know this.
Yeah, it's an hour-long lunch and learn, but we're doing it at 3
Well,
o'clock.
they'll come for lunch.
They'll come for lunch, for sure.
Thanks, Carol.
So it's like-
I'll move the recommendation.
Move the recommendation by Councillor Hyatt, seconded by Councillor Bryan. All's in favor? Carried. Thanks, Carolyn.
You're welcome.
This is report DS 4318, Amelia, planning. This is the Williamson Estates Incorporated. Do we need Amelia up here? Anybody have any questions for her? Brian went to get her? Okay. Yeah, we've got 3 for her, so. Do you want to jump ahead one? Let's go to DS 4618, Stacy Jibb. This is the Rural Program Coordinator. Any comments on this report? You're on the committee. Councillor Hyatt, go ahead.
Yeah, just for council's consideration, EDAC, or the Economic Development Advisory Committee, has been meeting for years, since the beginning of this term. They've covered a lot of ground, even though the numbers show that it's 5 and 5 and 5. It takes a lot of man-hours to get into interview these people and make sure that they've covered all the bases. So, again, this is just a summary of what they've been up to. We wanted to bring that to council's attention before the end of this term, so that you weren't wondering what they were up to. So, again, if anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer any.
Go. Do you have a question, Councillor Barton? Go
Well,
ahead.
again, more of a statement. It's very aligned with what my beliefs are, what they're suggesting for the township. The the preservation of our heritage aspects through Uxbridge, again, with flexibility so people can run their businesses. Links to our trail systems from downtown, which is very close to my heart, so.
Great.
And then tax, which everyone's a big fan.
And some of these things are already underway. It looks like we want you to do this, but in fact, we've already talked to Public Works about snow removal. We are working, as you know, with downtown engagement, and the revitalization plan has already been initiated. So, you know, there's more work to be done. We're not saying that there isn't, but at least the ball is rolling on most of these items already. All we have to do is hone it, and we can sort of allow the next council to move forward with the work that's already in place. So.
And I know they noted taxes in there, but I got a comment, you know, the fact that we're doing that downtown culvert, that's a huge advantage to those businesses downtown.
It is.
They're gonna benefit from this incredibly.
And that's a benefit I think that we tend to gloss over.
We do
We're
gloss
all talking
over.
about replacing the pipe and how much it's gonna cost and the work. But at the end of the day, you've significantly reduced that floodplain, which
Absolutely.
means there are huge benefits at the end of this.
Absolutely.
So I think that's something that we need to talk about more, and the next council obviously is gonna be dealing with it too, so.
So what would you like to do with that report? Did you want to say something, Ingrid?
I was just gonna say, when you're speaking about the culvert, there will be no downtown revitalization with buildings coming down without that culvert being replaced. Because the zoning right now, because it's in the floodplain, if anything was to ever come down, you would never be able to
Couldn't
rebuild
build
it. And that's the challenge, right?
So, Councillor Hyde, are you moving that, recommendation?
I'll move the recommendation, if there's any other questions.
Seconded by Councillor Barton. All those in favor? Carried. Amelia, do you want to come up to the mic, please? We did 4618. Now we're back to, this is report 4318. Questions of Amelia on this one. Williamsburg Estates Incorporated. Councillor Bryan.
I don't have any questions on this. I would move the recommendation. I met with the Penners. I've seen the sites, and I'm fine with it.
Okay, Councillor Barton.
Yeah, I've seen the site as well. I did look at the plans, and they look really good. They also look like there's a perfect spot to put an elevator in to make it accessible. With all those plans, there's right near the central staircase, there's a perfect pocket to rough in an elevator. That would be my suggestion from an
Okay.
accessibility standpoint.
Okay. So we've got a mover of the recommendation, seconder, Councillor Beach. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. This is Amelia's report again, DS 4418. This is regarding, lot 15, concession 3. Questions? What would you like to do with this, council? Somebody like to move this recommendation? This is the, new property on Front Street in Goodwood, right beside the church. Pam, are you gonna do something with this?
No, I would support this. It's okay. It's next to the church. It's
So you're
not-
moving the recommendation?
Yes, I would.
Great, thank you. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Hyatt? All in favor? Carried. This is report DS 4518, Amelia as well. This is, once again, going to the Committee of Adjustment, I guess. It's the, relief from parking space requirement. Christopher and Phil Smith. Comments, questions? Councillor Bryan.
I'm okay with what they have there. I'd move the recommendation.
Sorry, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. This is report PWO 5218 of Ben Kester. This is regarding the reconstruction of Front Street in Goodwood. Councillor Beach?
I would like to support this. I mean, some of the residents did a survey on their own. They
Thanks,
agreed
Amelia. Sorry.
that they didn't want it changed from what it is. They didn't want the curbs and gutters. They thought it was great that it was gonna cost less to basically do the same thing that was there. There was only a couple of people opposed, and a lot of people didn't answer back, 'cause I guess they felt after the community survey that, it'd be kind of redundant or whatever, but I think we need to move ahead with this, next year and get it paved and done, because it's really breaking up quite badly.
I think actually Ben sent the survey out, as a matter of
Yes.
fact. Yeah, okay. All right, so what do you want to do? You're moving the recommendation. Could I have a seconder,
Yes.
please? Councillor Barton, all's in favor? Carried. Thank you. Report PWO 5818 Bancaster. This is a quote on the dumpster pickup. Questions? Councillor Hyatt.
I don't have a question. I'll support the recommendation. Is
Yep.
this only for a one-year extension? I'm just wondering why we, is it year to year? Do we know? Year to year?
Year to year
Okay.
with an option, I guess, for a second year.
For not-
Councillor, I spoke to Ben about that, and it is on a year-to-year basis. So
Okay.
he's happy with the 1% because with the contract they have now, it's with
1% is
Miller.
pretty good to me.
1% is pretty good, and a lot of the people in that business, you end up paying a fuel surcharge,
Yeah.
which currently right now is running 15%.
So you're,
So
you would
there's
know
no
that.
fuel surcharge on this. So this is a really good deal.
That's great.
I'll move the recommendation.
Great, thank you. Now we're good. I don't know what it is about your mic, it just seems to screw everything up here. I don't know what it is, but... Andre, do you want to come up? We'll deal with a couple of your items, if you don't mind. We've already dealt with report 1518. The next one is, what's that? 1418. Didn't we deal with this, Okay. Okay, this is report BL 1418 from Andre. This is regarding the proposed new parks bylaw. Question if no one has any. I guess my question would be, I know that this is already legislation regarding campaigning in parks, and maybe you could tell me why do we need to put it in the parks bylaw when it already is legislation? That's kind of my question, Andre.
For consistency purposes, I think that it should all be maintained within the parks bylaw, as it's a violation within the parks bylaw, within a park, so it makes more sense for that to be contained within the parks bylaw than separate from being just in the election sign bylaw.
But it's already in the election sign bylaw.
Correct. And portions of it are already regulated through the current parks bylaw, when you're talking about posting, displaying any kind of advertisements or images.
Questions on the report? Councillor Hyatt.
Yeah, under, I guess your last paragraph before the recommendation there, it says, for enforcement, signage, and consistency purposes. Are you planning to put signage up now to
Well,
supplement this? What's the plan there?
With regards to fireworks, I do think that that should be something that is posted on all the signs, but obviously I'd have to consult with Bob because we have a cluster of signs.
Right, yeah.
And we don't want to like overload with signs, so possibly looking, we generally have the major offenses that would occur there or the most priority. If I can have a conversation with Bob, and if that is becoming consistently a problem within one park, we can look to substitute out signage.
Again, I live up near
Yep.
the museum, and it's quite a sport there, so it's
Yeah, so looking at some of those areas might
maybe
be a good idea.
concentrate on the areas where it's happening,
Yep.
rather than try to
Yep.
blanket everything.
Right.
Thank you.
That's definitely something that we can look at with Bob.
Councillor Ballinger.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Andre, what do you consider a power boat? I know this is like, I go out there on Huck Finn Day, I go around, watch the kids, and
powerboat.
And it's a little electric motor
Right.
that's just, sometimes it doesn't go as fast as it should
Right.
go.
I mean, I guess that's at the discretion of council. You know, do we want people to regularly be able to do that within that pond?
No, I'd kick anybody off out there,
Right.
but, you know, I don't want,
Yeah.
it's a safety boat. I mean, there has to be an exemption for something like this.
Well, within this bylaw, there is an exemption section, so that talks all about what is, we call it an exception, but anything that the township has authorized, so if it's to do with Huck Finn, it's not going to apply within this bylaw.
Thank you. You've answered.
Okay.
You still get to ride in the boat. Okay. Councillor Barton.
Yeah. Andre, just a question on that motorized vehicles in our parks. Has this been an issue in the past? Like, have we had motorized vehicles in, like, boats in Elgin Pond?
No, not to date. I think short of Jack during Huck Finn, generally I think we just find it's, schools with canoes using it, but it is an option that's there. I think that we should create some kind of offense. If you don't have an offense within the bylaw and it occurs, then it's graying the issue about if you want that person to leave, what powers or authority you're utilizing to get that person to leave.
Okay.
Okay, so what are we going to do with this? Do we have a mover? Anybody in this one yet? Catalina? Any movers? Councillor Bryan? Seconder? Councillor Ballinger? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Well, Andre's here. Let's finish Andre. He's only got a couple more here to do, right? Okay, so then, all right. So we'll call Ben up, and Andre, Catalina needs to have a few words with you. Ben, can you come up, please? We're going to deal with report PWO 6218. This is regarding operations with the old fire hall parking. And it is true, that parking lot's full. For a temporary parking lot we're going to use during the culvert, I can't believe how full it is already. Councillor Ballinger.
Yeah, I'd just like to bring it to your attention. I went over this morning before I came here and checked the parking lot. That fire hall spot, they were all full. And I come down to Centennial Park and there's 31 spaces that were empty.
Interesting. Okay, so, Councillor Barton, you have a question?
Oh, just a comment, that's me today, but it's funny, this is what I mentioned. I mentioned the 3-hour time limit for this parking lot when we first brought it up. I'm not right very often, so I thought I'd just mention it now.
So, I guess Ben's recommending this report a 3-hour spot at the fire hall. That's great. Moved by Councillor Ballinger, seconded by Councillor Beach. All those in favor? Oh, did you have a question, Gordon?
Is there a way that, I know a lot of the employees use these spaces as well, that work downtown. Is there a way to issue them with a certificate or a permit or something that they know where to park, rather than, as Councillor Ballinger said, fill up the spot that's closest to their business? Is there a way to do that, Ben?
I think the 3 hours is going to fix that.
Well, it will, but I'm just saying, to differentiate between someone who's shopping downtown versus somebody who's working there, I think makes a big difference. Is there a way that we could
I'll let the BIA know what's happening. They actually, I talked to them and they agreed with this.
Right.
So I'll let them spread the word that this is gonna happen, and
because that's the intent of this, right, is to create spaces available for people going downtown, not people working specifically downtown.
So they can go back to Centennial Park.
Okay. I just wondered if there's a way we could steer them, as Councillor Ballinger said, to those empty spots that are, I'd say rarely used, but less used than the ones closer to Brock Street.
Well, and I think this, as I said, I think this is going to resolve that for sure.
Okay.
Ingrid, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know, though, that I did contact Scarson and had a conversation with them, just advising them that temporary 3-hour, well, it wasn't 3-hour at that point, but that's the intention of it, and that we had built that parking lot in Centennial largely to deal with those who needed to stay longer in a spot, and Paul Minchell sent something out to all of the staff to let them know as well.
Okay. Did you take notes, Laura? Do we have a mover and seconder on that? We do? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. This is regarding PWO 6318 Benket. Oh, which one? Oh. Oh, great. Okay. Thank you. PWO 6118 of Ben Kester. This is regarding Planks Lane. with the RFP U1824 Planks Lane. It's an engineering tender. I have a comment, if you don't mind me saying, Ben, we already had this conversation. This is the same company, GHD, that did an environmental assessment on our downtown culvert in January of 2017, where they told us that the cost to build the culvert back in January 2017 was $7.5 million. The tender came in a little over a year later at almost $12.5 million for specifically the construction costs. And I look at a company like this, and I would like them to come back, because I want to know why we paid them for an EA, and they gave us an amount of $7.5 million, and they missed by almost $5 million. So in my opinion, I'm not really interested in dealing with this company till I have an explanation for why they screwed up so much. And we based this culvert on an amount of money that we paid consultants good money for, and they were totally wrong. And so I really want an explanation from this company what happened to it and where they went wrong, because we were going on good information that we paid them for, and they did a lousy job. So, Councillor Bryan.
I'll give you a motion then to table this until we have a meeting with them, have them come in front of council.
Yeah, so we are suggesting, Ben, that they do come in front of council and explain to us how they could be so far out. If you don't mind.
Yep, I can arrange that.
Moved by Councillor Bryan, second by Councillor Ballinger. All those in favor? Carried. Go ahead, Gord.
I mean, I'm looking at the numbers here, Ben. I mean, they're astronomically apart. Maybe that could be part of your question and answer period. Like, you know, from 108 to 338, I mean, that's a substantial jump.
It's not so much the hourly rate that differs, it's the amount of time, it's the amount of hours that each of them thought it would take to do the work.
Yeah.
That's where the difference is.
Yeah.
It's not in the hourly rate.
Okay.
And just to reiterate, my concern is just because of the cheapest, that doesn't mean, we clearly didn't get quality work last time, so I really don't want to deal with them.
Maybe that's a part of it.
Yeah, that's a huge issue for me. Anyway, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. And I guess that's table 2. We should have set a date. Ben, what, I guess you've got to arrange it with them. Could we try to do it in September?
Yep.
September 10th?
Yep.
Would be great. Am I at 6318 now, Winter Sand? Okay. PWO 6318 Winter Sand, tender. Any questions? Somebody, go ahead, Councillor Beach.
Ben, how much is it up from our last year?
Well, about 4%.
About 4%. Okay. No, that answers my question.
Council, what would you like to do with this recommendation?
Sorry, let me go back. So, the tender, I believe it's a 2-year contract with a 1% increase in year 2. Subject to both the township and the and the contractor agreeing. So it's probably up 8% over last year. But that probably means you got it too cheap last year.
That's okay. All right. Do we have a mover, this report? No? Councillor Bryan, seconded by Councillor Barton. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, this is report PWO 6418. Just passing. Oh, there you go, Kathleen. Pass it on too. Council, what would you like to do with this one? Councillor Barton.
Yeah, I've got a question on this one. There's a 2% adder every year. Now, did Woods also have that 2% adder? Or are they just the cheapest? Or,
no, Woods flatlined it, but those are the 5-year totals.
Oh, okay. There we go. That makes more sense. Thanks. I'll move the recommendation then.
Moved by Councillor Barton. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Hyatt. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Where are we at?
16. Report BL 16.
Oh, bylaw. Yeah, we're done with Ben though, right?
Mr. Chair, could I just ask a quick question?
Sure, go ahead, Councillor.
Does each truck have a
We're done with Ben. Back and forth.
scanner in it that they can access this information, or is it only the guys that go out on patrol that have the weather?
It's only, well, it's the guys on patrol. It's Billy and myself and the two foremen. It's bylaw,
Okay.
it's, fire,
That
I
was my
think
next
gets it,
question.
and the two contractors that we hired to do the parking lots.
Okay, so
We
it's
can
quite
send it to
widespread.
just about anybody.
Good, thanks, Ben.
Great, thanks, Ben. Andre, can you come up, please? This is, report BL 1618, Andre Grattan. This is, oh no, sorry, it isn't. It's BL 1718. This is regarding the online pet licensing system. Questions or comments? Council, what would you like to do with this one? Great, Councillor Barton, go ahead.
Yeah, I would move the recommendations.
Thank you.
Just a question, is there an option on this, or will there be, to do more than 1 year at a time? Or does it just automatically renew, Andre?
I guess moving forward with the service, should Scugog Council be okay with it, it would be on an annual basis that we would continue with DocuPat.
No, actually, my point was, if I'm gonna buy a dog tag for 2018, could I do 2 years and do 2019, so it's only one processing fee?
At this point, it's only at an annual basis, as the bylaw dictates through an annual basis, but if that's something that council would like us to look at or entertain, we can do that while we set up with, DocuPat.
Okay.
Great. So it's moved by Councillor Barton. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bryan, all's in favor? Carried, thank you. I gotta go back to BL 1618. I thought we dealt with this, but we didn't. This was Andre's report regarding Mike Jones, so maybe, we could just have a motion to receive this for information. Moved by Councillor Bryan, seconded by Councillor Barton. All's in favor? Carried, thank you. Report CAO, this is, report from Ingrid regarding the, building condition audit. It's consideration for the 2019 budget. Comments or questions? Councillor Hyatt?
No, I think this is a great idea, and I'll move the recommendation.
Moved recommendation, seconded by Councillor Bryan. Do you have a comment?
Yeah, if I can just speak to this, I don't know if any other members of council have been in the library lately. The roof is leaking terribly. They have scaffolding in there now. They've got a temporary wall right as you come in, because they've got to get into the roof and check it. So this is an issue certainly that's only gonna get better before it gets worse, so I think this is very timely. I know Councillor Barton sits on the board with me as well, so, if you do get a chance, I'd encourage you to go in and take a look and see if the water damage that's come through that beautiful building.
Great. So we have a mover and a seconder. Any other questions? Councillor Barton?
Yeah, I agree with this. Ingrid and I have spoken about it before. This is such a gem, this building, and we have to ensure that we don't let it rot away, and we know exactly where the money needs to be spent and when, so we don't lose track of this one.
Great.
Like we have been.
So we have mover and seconder. Any other questions? All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Report CL 5318 of Catalina Blumenberg. Open data. This is a report that actually went through the region not that long ago. We dealt with exactly the same issue. It's mostly about transparency and availability of information so people have access to what we do. Councillor Hyatt?
Just a quick question through you to staff. Would we control this, Catalina, or does the region do it?
So the region would be the host of the site, but we control what information we want to release.
Okay, thanks.
Can I have a mover, please?
I'll move the recommendation.
Moved by Councillor Hyatt, seconded by Councillor Barton. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. We're going to bylaws. Is that right, Catalina? Have I got everything? Okay. Bylaws. Who has the bylaws today? Councillor Hyatt?
Anybody got any questions?
Any
Councillor?
questions on any of the bylaws? Councillor Barton?
Yeah, I've got a question on the fire protection services with the city of Oshawa. Is this about 911?
No. No, it's mutual aid. We have an agreement with them,
Okay.
yeah.
I knew we had them with Scugog and the partnering.
We have mutual aid agreements with, East Gwillimbury, Stouffville, and Oshawa.
Oh.
Stouffville brings us a ladder, so does Oshawa,
Okay.
so we have.
Okay, thanks. Oh, and there's one more. Pre-servicing agreement. Could someone speak to this with 711-371 Ontario Corp? This is...
This is
it's
218-131?
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
This is for Green Gables, I think. This is David Sudd,
It
right?
is David Sudd, yep.
And what does this include?
Concession
Ingrid?
for?
No, but what, the pre-servicing, what?
Pre-servicing allows you to bring in your services. Basically,
Oh.
you're gonna be bringing in your water lines, and it's just we're not ready for the subdivision agreement at this point, so we'll do a pre-servicing agreement so we can get started.
Okay, excellent. Thanks for clarifying that.
Any other questions of the bylaws? No other questions? Councillor Hyatt?
Move be granted for first and second reading. Moved by Councillor Hyatt, seconded by Councillor Rona, that leave be granted to introduce bylaws number 2018-120 to 2018-132, and the same be read a first and a second time.
Leave be granted for second reading. All in favor? Carried. Third reading.
Third reading, moved by Councillor Hyatt, seconded by Councillor Rona, that bylaw number 2018-120 to 2018-132 be now read a third time, finally passed, and the mayor and the clerk duly sign and seal same.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Unfinished business. I have one item I'd like to bring up under unfinished business. I've had some discussions with Andre and staff. We've had a few issues about our downtown signage, and what I'm proposing is that we sort of have moratorium on any tickets downtown for signage, because clearly the sign bylaw we have right now is not working. It's kind of out of control. So I think what would be beneficial to the township is that we create a committee that would consist of Heritage as well as BIA and perhaps some other businesses downtown to come up with a bylaw that's going to work. I mean, the issue was that as you know, if bylaw gets a complaint about a specific address, they have to go to that address, and that's what they do. The reality is, they went to one of those addresses last week, and every single store in the street really is in contravention of the bylaw. I mean, since Costco started selling those open signs, I think every single store in the world has them. But so we have to deal with this bylaw because it doesn't allow illuminated lighting in your windows, and clearly every store downtown, pretty much every store does. There's a 30%, you're allowed to have 30% of your window covered by posters. As you know, there's many buildings downtown that are far more than 30% covered with posters and other bits of art, I guess you could say. So I think what I'd like, if you don't mind, I'd ask council if they would consider putting together a committee consisting of those three groups that I suggested, and having them come back to council with a bylaw that works. I know we have concerns about heritage, but we also have concerns about businesses operating, and they need to advertise as well. So somewhere, let's hope we can find a happy medium. So I'd like somebody to make a motion to that effect, if you wouldn't mind, Councillor, both of you downtown.
Can I ask a question? Are we
Sure.
amending the existing bylaw? Is
We're
that
not
the
doing
goal?
anything yet.
No,
We're
but I mean, by forming the committee, are they challenged with revisiting the existing bylaw and amending it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're not going on a whole new thing, we're just revisiting what...
We're going to revisit it. Maybe they'll keep it the same. I don't know. But I think that we need some discussion
Yeah,
about it and try to
absolutely.
find out, make sure everybody's on the same page.
It has to be consistent.
Absolutely. So do I have a mover and a seconder? Sorry, go ahead.
So
Yeah.
just to speak from process perspective, so we only have one more council meeting, and then we have the election,
Right.
and then the new term of council.
Right.
So if we're forming a committee, it might not be enough time.
Probably won't be, but they're going to work on it between now and whenever we can get back together.
Okay, and then,
Yeah, they won't get it done by September, we
Basically,
understand
the
that.
bylaw is gonna be suspended.
Yeah, it's a moratorium on
ba-
tickets, really.
Basically, it's suspended and we're not gonna deal with it. And the problem right now that we have is, because it's complaint-driven, so somebody targets one business and says, I'm gonna complain about them. And the system is not set up where we just proactively go and deal with all of those businesses that have the same sign. So it's very possible that one person could be doing the same thing that 20 other businesses are doing, but because a complaint has been generated and our responsibility under that bylaw, we end up going in and going after one person who then says, what about the 20 others that have the same sign? So I think that's what you're asking for, is just to take a step back and look at it, and whether it's done between now and the election, it probably won't
It
be.
won't be
It'll
done.
probably be something the new council will have to look at, as a new bylaw or an amended
whatever.
bylaw.
And I've spoke to Andre about it, so we're all on
Yeah,
the
at
same
the end
page.
of the day, the problem becomes the ambiguity that's going on with these signs.
Absolutely.
And you know, if Gord has a store and he's got the sign and Pam has a different one, but I don't complain about Pam, well, that's not fair. So let's make it a level playing field, let's clean up this ambiguity, and certainly the next council going forward, I think, when you have this committee together with all these people can meet and talk about it, I think that's really where we need to go. So I
Great.
think that's a great idea.
Councillor Barton.
Yeah, and I agree that we need to look at this. Obviously, those open signs are here to stay, and they should be. It's a great way to know if a business is open from, across the street. My concern is by completely suspending the bylaw, if there's a new business that opens, they don't have any direction on what is permitted now, and they may end up spending significant funds like Corner House did.
There we go. No, I think let's put it this way. they're still gonna come to downstairs, and they're gonna find out, here is our sign bylaw in the Heritage District downtown. This is our Heritage Sign District, and they're gonna get that. They should be sticking to that. All we're doing is, we're not gonna be going downtown writing tickets at this point in time. But there still is, we haven't changed the bylaw. We just want bylaw to leave them alone for a little bit till we get it resolved. That's essentially what we're asking, okay? Yeah,
I
Councillor
just
Bean.
wanna have a comment, like, you know, like, I understand, and I think it's a great idea about this new committee, looking at the bylaw, you know, figuring out what should be done. But as far as saying that the new businesses come downstairs to ask about signs, they don't. They generally come back after, if they do, and ask for forgiveness, and then they're just let go. So, I mean, this
Well,
needs to be looked at.
I don't think they're always just let go, Pam. I think we've dealt with a few of them that we didn't let go. Anyway, okay, so do we have a motion, Councillor Hyatt?
Yeah, although I think it's a great idea to review this, I just don't think you're gonna have enough time between now and the next council to do it properly.
Oh, I don't think we'll get a report back
So
till...
if we're making a recommendation to form a committee, I would suggest that you do it by position. In other words, if you want a BIA council rep on there, if you want a planning council rep on there, if you want the ward council rep on there, then that's how you specify it, rather than saying it's Fred or it's me or it's
I've
Dave
suggested...
or whatever, you know what I mean?
You can
It
change
should
the
be by
motion if you like.
position
All I've
rather than-
suggested is a member of Uxbridge Heritage,
But
BIA,
honestly, I just don't
and a
think you're
business.
gonna have time between now and
We won't.
September
I don't expect we'll
to
get this
review
back till after the election.
So that's why I would leave it by title, not by name. Does that make sense?
Well, staff can create a
Yeah,
criteria
you could
for
say
it.
mayor and or these others or whatever.
Okay.
Refer to staff for a report. We'll bring you something back that basically speaks to who we think is representative
Okay.
of the community. Because right now, we have a clash between business and the heritage guidelines. And that's part of the challenge, is where can we land that everybody can be somewhat happy?
And so maybe
we'll bring a report back.
And maybe in that report, we can have some sort of a date when we'll have it resolved. Okay. Okay, great. So that's where we're at. We're gonna have it referred to staff. They're gonna come up with some criteria for the committee. Everybody's good with that? Who's moving that? Gord and Fred have moved it. All's in favor? Carried. Thank you. Any other unfinished business? Councillor Barton.
Yeah, I'd like some clarification on where we are with Fort Victoria. With Fort Victoria, just,
Fort Victoria.
the old co-op building. There was, Fred mentioned something that I hadn't, heard the whole story on, so if we could just fill in all of council so we all know where we're at.
Ingrid, should we bring Brian up for this?
I think we already, wasn't in the report last meeting we had? My understanding is they're starting construction in August. We issued a foundation permit, they're starting construction in August, but... Fred, did something change from the last meeting?
No, I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I was under the impression that we were gonna have things moving forward already, so I would like to get some clarification on that as well, because I was under the impression we were gonna fill that in.
No, I think the last meeting we had when Brian was here, that they would be starting construction in August, was what we were told the last
But
meeting.
if they weren't gonna build, they were gonna fill.
We didn't agree to that yet. We threatened that, we didn't agree to it.
Well, I agree with that now.
Okay. We'll just wait for Brian to come upstairs. Is there anything else we can do in the meantime? We're done, eh? Yeah, do you want to do that now? Questions from the press? Leisha, welcome.
Are taken on.
How many do we have in total?
Yes.
I guess we have, 4, but then you include animal control as well. They're at essentially the same. So I guess 4.
What's your question?
How many bylaw officers? 1 lead.
Okay, so we have a man, Andre's position was changed from being a bylaw manager when Vicky left animal control. He has now animal control and bylaw. So he manages both. Both departments were merged. We have a full-time bylaw officer, and we have 2 30-hour-a-week part-time bylaw officers. That's what we have. And one of the bylaw officers, the part-timers, is completely dedicated to parking. And where we spent a lot of time, I think, with parking this year is dealing with Planks Lane and Third Avenue, the high school, and Joseph Gould. Really spent a lot of energy on that this year to try and resolve that.
Any other questions? Nobody? Okay, Brian, do you want to come up? The question, Brian, is regarding Fort Victoria. Where are they at?
Right. So, I issued the permit, July 10th, I think, around July 10th. And at that time, he had mentioned that, once he had the permit, he felt it would take him 3 to 4 weeks to get the, contractor in line to start the foundation work and to do site alteration. So I haven't followed up with them since then, but, I guess I can to see, where he stands, but that's
Okay.
what he had told me at that time.
Okay.
Brian, can you do that and send an email to council so we know where we stand, because we are getting questions on that?
Yep,
And
for
the
sure.
timeline, because we had talked originally about August, and certainly now we're in
Yeah.
August, and this 4-week timeline is there. So I think if you send something to all of council, then we'll have the answers and we can certainly share it with the public.
Okay, I can do
I would
that.
greatly appreciate that.
Pardon me? Yeah, a while back, yeah. Okay. Any questions from the, audience today? Oh, sorry, Gord, go ahead.
While you're here, Brian, could I ask you about the remediation of the former Shell station and egg sorting? Do you have an update on that at all?
I really don't have anything to do with that. I
There
issued
doesn't
the-
seem to be much happening, or, you know?
Just casually talking to the contractor, he thought everything would be done by late fall.
Late fall.
But I issued the demolition permit, and that's where it ended for me. I had really
That's the end
nothing
of
to
it,
do
yeah.
with the,
I mean, I know they're working, but it just seems to be taking quite a phenomenal...
Who does monitor it now then? Obviously, they're,
they, so, probably MOE too,
yeah, I wondered, it must be MOECC or somebody, right?
right.
Okay. Any other questions from the audience? Roger Varley. You need to come to a mic though, Roger, you know, 'cause we're on video and, yep. You've only been to about 150 meetings, I think you...
Will the camera get my good side?
I don't know if you have one.
You just passed a new parks bylaw. You do realize now that parents are no longer allowed to play a game of catch with their kids in Elgin Park. Parents are no longer allowed to kick a soccer ball with their kids in Elgin Park. You do realize this, do you not? You
Although
do realize...
we don't agree.
I'm
Go
sorry?
ahead. I don't agree with you. I don't agree.
It's in there black and white. It's in there black and white. We have a pathway that connects Bascom with Centennial Driveway here, and another pathway that connects Centennial Driveway with Mill Street. Are you going to put up gates to prevent pedestrians from using those after 11 o'clock at night? Because they run through a park, and according to the bylaw, you can't be in a park after 11 o'clock. So what do you do about that? Now, at the Fields of Uxbridge, I have on occasion gone up there in the middle of the week, when we have those vast acres of unused soccer fields, and I've seen people flying model planes. Nobody else around, just a couple of guys flying model planes. They can't do that anymore. Why not? Because Mr. Grattan has gone out of his way to say you can't do this and you can't do that and you can't do the bloody other in our parks. I mean, a family of 30 cannot go down there to have a family picnic because he can't have more than 25 people in a group. And I'd love to know where he came up with that number. What's so special about 25? Why not 24 or 23? This bylaw is just so badly thought out, so badly written, and quite frankly, I accuse council or members of council of not even bloody well reading it. Not even reading it to see what's in there. Mr. Barringer pointed out earlier today, no power boats. Well, he pointed out that occasionally there's a need for one. The bylaw also says, we shall not wade in any ornamental ponds or fountains in our parks. The only problem with that is there are no ornamental ponds or fountains in our parks, anywhere in Uxbridge Township. So why even bother putting it in?
Well, there will be a fountain in very soon, but anyway.
You're talking about the electric light pond, and I challenge anybody to wade in it. But we can't wade in an ornamental pond or a fountain. I mean, this bylaw is just another example of Mr. Grattan taking a sledgehammer to kill a gnat. And I would hope that sometime in the very near future you'd bring this bylaw back for a reconsideration. Thank you.
I would only like to say the council did read the bylaw, and I don't necessarily agree with you, and we had this conversation, as a matter of fact, on Saturday, so I know where you're coming from.
We have agreed to disagree on a number of things, Pat.
Yes, we did. And I think what's important to note is that so often, and it's unfortunate in the world we're in today, I guess, with rules, there's so many rules, but one of the issues that we do have in bylaw, that if there is a complaint and somebody does complain about something and there's no basis in the bylaw to stop it, and it seems like, and the conversation we had was, to make any bylaw today, we seem to use these massive brushes that really cover everything to make them so general. But the bylaws are still based on complaints. So if somebody's going to complain about 25 people in the park.
I would suggest the bylaw cannot cover everything. It cannot cover everything. And because you get one complaint from somebody saying, I saw somebody picking a worm off the ground, now the bylaw says we mustn't disturb worms in the park. I mean, it gets a little bit ridiculous, Pat. And I'd like to point out,
I don't think the worm was in the bylaw,
question.
just be careful.
No campaigning, active or passive in our parks. Did you say that's part of the Municipal Act?
It's part of our sign bylaw, our election sign bylaw right now.
It's not provincial legislation.
I'm not sure if the provincial covers it, or it gives us authority to cover it. Maybe Catalina can cover that.
Campaigning on public property is part of the use of corporate resources for election purposes policy.
Which would be provincial.
Okay. In that case, the bylaw states that there shall be no campaigning, active or passive. If I walk through the park with a button on my shirt saying Vote Varley, I'm in violation of the bylaw. What, am I going to get run out of the park for wearing a button? Not only that, that goes against the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. I have the right to free speech. And if I want to stand in Elgin Park and say, hey, I'm running for council, vote for me, I'm going to get shut up. That's guaranteed to me by the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and this bylaw goes in face, it flies in the face of that charter.
But it could be challenged.
Typically, federal legislation would override municipal legislation, just as provincial legislation overrides municipal. So if we were in contravention of a federal law, then federal law would trump. So if you were to challenge that, then no, it wouldn't be going against your right to freedom of speech.
Yeah, exactly. The only way that part of the bylaw could stand up is if the council went to the notwithstanding clause. And I don't think you have the power or the right to go to a notwithstanding clause.
And like Mayor Malloy said, it is complaint driven. So it's only if somebody complains, then bylaw would do something.
It's complaint driven?
Like all our bylaws are.
Yeah. So you've had complaints about people campaigning in the parks?
Yes.
Guess that must have been me in 2010 when I wore a jacket with a bunch of buttons on. Thank you.
Any other questions from the audience? Okay, council's going to go in camera now for a few minutes. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Okay, so we have a motion to move out of camera, and we're so moved. Was it moved and carried? Moved by Councillor Bryan, seconded by Councillor Barton. All's in favor? Carried. Great. Report number CL 5418, Flora Rupert, Clerk's Assistant. So, moved by Councillor Bryan, seconded by Councillor Barton, Councillor Ballinger. All's in favor? Carried. Thank you. Confirming bylaw?
Yeah, I got it over here.
Councillor Hyatt.
First and
confirming
second
bylaw?
reading, moved by Councillor Hyatt, seconded by Councillor Rona, that leave be granted to introduce bylaw number 2018-133, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its regular meeting of August the 13th, 2018, and the same be read a first and a second time.
All's in favor? Carried. Leave be granted a third reading.
Moved by Councillor Hyatt, seconded by Councillor Rona, that bylaw number 2018-133 be now read a third time, finally passed, and the mayor and clerk duly sign and seal same.
All in favor? So we just have one thing this afternoon, 2 o'clock.